This afternoon, our hearing will provide a critical opportunity to investigate how the Biden-Harris administration systematically weakened our national border security and at the same time intentionally facilitated the influx of millions of inadmissible aliens into the United States through the unlawful use of mass parole. As members of the legislative branch, it is our duty to determine how and why the Biden-Harris administration abused its authority to grant parole meant to be applied only on a case-by-case basis for urgent humanitarian needs or significant public benefit to justify the mass release of between 2 and 3 million inadmissible aliens into our country. However, the Biden-Harris mass parole programs, though stopped by the Trump administration, continue to impose significant financial costs on the American public and generate increased public safety threats. During his time in office, former President Biden's open policies incentivized illegal immigration, signaling to the world that our borders were open. In response, people from around the world flooded across our borders and overran our communities. This resulted in historic, never-before-seen apprehension numbers. To combat the bad optics of the growing border crisis and to try to cover up the true scale of illegal immigrants entering the United States, the Biden-Harris administration created multiple mass parole programs to hide the truth from the American people and to quickly release individuals into the interior. These programs were deliberately designed to conceal and downplay the true scope of our border crisis. One of the ways the former administration misled the public was through the conversion of a little-known program originally designed to schedule cargo inspections into one of the most abused programs in our nation's history. The CBP-1 app was used in a manner never authorized by Congress to create a fast-track pathway for parole into the interior of the country. The implementation of the CB-1 mass parole program resulted in nearly 1 million illegal aliens entering this country. This committee found that the individual who applied for entry into the U.S. using the CBP-1 app were ultimately released into the interior at least 95% of the time. Additionally, more than 500,000 other inadmissible aliens were granted parole under the mass parole program for Cubans, Haitian, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. The Trump administration has wisely ended both of these programs by executive order, but the fallout remains. Earlier this year, DHS Office of Inspector General released a review of specific Biden-Harris administration parole programs, confirming that the previous administration had no plan to remove aliens whose parole had expired. That meant that there are potentially hundreds of thousands of inadmissible aliens who may still be at large in a country long after their parole has expired. To make matters worse, many of these aliens and those who sponsored their entry were not properly vetted. Both the CHNV program and the CBP-1 appointments had to be paused due to suspected rampant fraud. The consequences of these reckless and unlawful parole programs have been devastating, and the American public has paid the price. One horrifying example is the brutal murder of 22-year-old Laken Riley, an Augusta University student, at the hands of an illegal alien from Venezuela who was paroled into the country by the Biden-Harris administration. More recently, an Afghan national who was paroled into the United States in 2021 was arrested for plotting an attack in the name of ISIS on Election Day 2024. This arrest and Laken's tragic death should be a wake-up call to lawmakers that we must be serious about preventing future abuse of our immigration law. In closing, Congress has a responsibility to examine what steps should be taken to mitigate the ongoing financial and public safety threats enabled by the previous administration's abuse of parole. There is no scenario in which paroling millions of inadmissible aliens in the country is consistent with current law. We must never allow this to happen again. We must work together to ensure that future administrations can never again jeopardize our nation's safety and sovereignty. We must implement legislative solutions that will guarantee American security for generations to come. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses today, and with that, I yield back.